Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DNVR Rapids podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code DNVR when you sign up. Fellas, we got the fellas today. We are on a fantastic vibe here in Studio A at DNVR Bar. I'm your host, of course, Mitchell Carroll, a.k.a. Merchel, a.k.a. Mitchy Sheets. Trying on that one, thanks to Dwayne. We'll see if it sticks.
Mitchy Sheets.
Mitchy Spreadsheets,
It's
I guess.
sticky.
If you want
It's
Mitchell
sticky. It's gonna
Spreadsheets, his
last.
full name.
I think Merchel is still like the best
Merchel's still the
way.
one,
Yeah,
obviously.
it's
I'm just trying to add as
elite.
many AKAs as possible in my short amount of time on this earth. Joining me, of course, is super analyst Yaya.
I miss being super producer. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, too bad
I
you're
do
super
miss that a
analyst.
little bit.
You're just regular dude.
Just regular dude / super analyst.
I'm just
Yaya.
a super person now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Also joining me, of course, the art director for All City Network. And just a regular hat maker over there.
Just a
I don't know the
hat
term.
maker
I know a
over there.
cobbler is shoes. I don't know what a hat guy is. But
Cobbler of shoes, a cobbler of hats.
Chapeau wizard, I believe, is what it's called.
that is not it. But of course, it's downtown Dwayne Brown.
Hello, everyone.
What's up, dude?
Man, I'm excited to talk about
You're excited to talk?
Media
I'm
Day.
excited to talk.
I'm excited to talk.
He shares an office with D-Line, so he doesn't get to talk much all day.
It's too
just
much
D-line
comedy
going
up
on.
there. I don't have to talk.
And then, of course, I can't believe it took this long. He's back and he's in studio. The homie, it's Joseph Samuelson of Burgundy Wave.
Thank you. And that is also new for anybody listening. And
Congratulations!
any longtime listeners, you
You
know.
just got a horn sound that I've not heard yet.
Well, there you go. Listen,
I'm very
Oh
excited
yeah, that's the
about
bicycle horn. We should never use that.
that. It's a party. That's
Joseph,
clearly
you
a
are
party
now
horn.
That is
Jesus
a clown.
Christ,
That is
I
a
hate
clown.
that
That
so
is a
much.
bicycle.
Joseph is now officially a certified sicko. He is the
Certified
Rapids
sicko.
2 beat writer for Burgundy Wave.
and I'll also be doing weekly analyst posts, hopefully, on the first team.
Sure.
Matt's gonna keep in charge of the sort of like recaps and stuff for games, which is going to allow me, I guess, the freedom to focus on what I consider to be my bread and butter, and that is just like the sort of on the field play, team construction, all that jazz, and of course, because everybody needs a little bit of Rapids 2 in their lives, I will be providing loads of content for you.
Injected into my veins.
let's
Into your
Go.
veins, so you can catch up on what's happening with players you've never heard of, like Blake Malone or Jackson
Wow.
Travis and others.
Well, come on. We've heard of Jackson Travis.
Come on.
You'd be
I've heard of
surprised
Blake
how
Malone.
many people do not know Jackson Travis signed a first-team contract with the Rapids last year.
Blake Malone just put a video out on social yesterday, didn't he?
Oh, he might have.
Yeah, he
So,
did for
yeah,
Rapids 2
see?
Media Day.
Wow.
We know what's up here at DMVR Rapids.
Yeah, we do.
I'm pleased to be in a room with other certified sickos.
We are
That's
certified
what-
sickos. Guys, we have one heck of a show going on today. Of course, yesterday it was Media Day. We got to talk to some of the fellows over at the stadium. 5 of them, in fact. We will recap that. We will also be talking a little bit about some possible, one that is current and maybe a possible men's national team camp call up from the Rapids. But first, real quick, guys, there's been a little
Current
MLS.
call-ups. We could get to that.
Correct. You're right. That's my bad. There is 2. Not to discount one. I'm a yappy
As
guy.
a Rapids 2
Yes,
guy,
that's true.
I gotta
That's
know
true.
this stuff.
I'm a yappy guy, so I was going hard on the yappy news. Okay, but first, there's been some little MLS rumors, MLS happenings, perhaps you could say. The one that really interested me, and we can get into the Orongo one. That's probably the biggest one, but Yaya's guy, Brenner, FC Cincinnati, getting some attention from Serie A.
That should have been the move Porig made when he was like downward. he wanted out. He wanted to leave. I think it was
He was 21
January?
years old last
Like,
January.
yeah, like he wasn't.
I believe
feeling
we had
himself.
this exact conversation about
We did.
Brenner in this exact room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
about 11 months ago when we
About-
started
yeah.
the pod. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was all in on him, and I'm like, "This is the guy you need to go get. This is the guy that I believed in all last season. He proved me right, and I feel really, really justified,
Vindicated.
You should.
vindicated, justified. I don't know where it's.
No,
He had
No, I-
24 goal contributions in just 2,000 minutes. That's pretty tight.
But it's worth knowing, like the fee I've seen circling around
Looks like 9 mil with
is
add-ons.
less than what Cincy paid for him.
Yeah.
Right?
How much did
Because
they pay for
Cincy
him?
paid $13 million for the man.
The sell-on percentage is probably massive.
I guess,
I would imagine.
but still, that's like
yeah.
they'd still need a little bit more. To
I
be
think
made
they were
whole.
playing new club. They were paying the new club tax. The desperate tax.
The thing is, this happens all the time with European clubs. They try to lowball MLS clubs, and so they think, oh, we can get any amount of money from them. But MLS 4.0 has shown us that you don't sell your players for lower than you paid anymore. You got to make a profit now. You got to start playing with the big boys.
Interesting. We'll see on some profit. I mean, there's one guy we'll be talking about later who definitely will represent profit for the Rapids. The other news, obviously, Chicho Arango, MLS Cup champion.
Talk about burying the
Certified-
lead, though. In that the article where I believe it was Jeffrey Carlisle reported it. Like the article was about Christian Ramirez.
Yep.
And then buried in like the last paragraph of the article is like Chicharrongo maybe for 2.4 million.
I think he's really going to set a
President.
like a new level of what a productive forward will earn in the MLS. And good for him. LA would be crazy to let him go. But that said, champion teams and teams with pockets like LA, they might be like, oh, you can give us that for him. That's fine. Like that happens every time a team wins. They start selling off parts that were big contributions to winning because they can now capitalize on those pieces. So would it be crazy if Arango left? No. Is it likely? Probably
His value-
also no.
His value is also never going to be higher.
Never,
because
ever.
he is about to enter like those critical late 20s prime
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
So whichever club's going to get him next, if he does indeed leave, is going to have an all-star for
Yeah.
for like the most important years of his life.
But my question is this actually a thing he want? Is this actually something LFC wants and he wants? Or is this more of a like, I want a new contract?
It seems
and-
like an agent.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's kind of buried at the end. It's not like actual rumors. It was like buried in an article. I was trying to see if people could notice, get some movement going. It feels it's more like contract negotiation.
But if LAFC doesn't want to pay him, then maybe like a trade does happen.
how long does he have left on his contract? Do you guys know? I want to say 2 years.
I don't know off the top of my head. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would guess 1 year after this one. That's usually when rumors like these start to circulate. Is when there's
I mean, it's going on with
now a
Lucho
really
right now,
interesting
too.
one that this might be even more realistic for other teams. LAFC's Mahalo Opoku also apparently up for grabs. 10 goal contributions last year in 20 starts, 34 total games, but you want to see that about half a goal contribution a start's pretty nice. He's only 21. That to me is way more likely a guy that Porg would want to target based on what we know about Porg and his strategy for team building. I think it'd be cool. I think we kind of already filled that hole with Cabral and with Calvin Harris, but it is an interesting piece
sure.
buried behind,
Bella.
Gareth Bale, Carlos
Bale-
Vela,
Bale retired.
it's just maybe some guys you might have heard of before. But even then, still able to contribute, still getting 20 starts last season. So interesting to see United adding Matthias Klitsch from Leeds. He was big in getting Leeds promoted out of the championship. I think that's a pretty good move. Clearly a Rooney-driven move, I would say, with United.
I hate to say this because I feel like I say it every single offseason.
Oh, jeez.
But with how many teams are spending so much money bringing in external transfers to the league, right? I keep getting that worry that the Rapids are kind of lagging behind a bit, I guess, in terms of like overall talent. Like I know we've got the scrappy Moneyball squad. I know that the team still has managed to get a lot of solid contributors for fees that don't involve millions of dollars, right? But it does feel like teams are taking another step
Yes.
that we're not really seeing here in Colorado.
I mean, you're getting guys off of Premier League teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
Cucho itself feels like that sort of set a huge bar last
Yeah,
year
yeah.
when Columbus made that signing.
Man, I love that signing. Cucho's so sick. He put up a cool picture on his Instagram of Diego Rubio and a bunch of other Spanish-speaking guys who are out in San Jose at MLS as the league's media day. And I just thought that was cool to see because I like Cucho so much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're like 1 degree removed away from Cucho, and you're like,
He's tight. He's sick. But yeah, okay. Anything else from the MLS rumor mill from the last week or so, guys, you would want to touch on
just
there?
the fake Lucho news. That's the only one that's clearly a
Yeah.
contract negotiations.
Correct.
That's all. They're not gonna give him 4.5 million at 28 years old.
Nope.
To a team that's never paid more than $2 million for any player.
Correct. All right, let's move on. Yesterday was media day. It was cool to be back. It was cool to be back at the Dick. It was nice seeing the stadium with an untouched sheet of snow, with the sunlight on Colorado across the stands. It was fun to be there. We got to talk to 5 Rapids. We talked to the new guy, Calvin Harris. Just a sweet little British youngster. Just a kid, you can tell. Really nice, really well spoken. Obviously, this is our first interactions with him. Wasn't even like a hang out and interact. It was just straight into the presser, out of the presser. We talked to Keegan Rosenberry, our guy, friend of the pod. Really
Mr.
stuff
Rapid.
from him. Mr. Rapid
You gotta give
himself.
him the title. Come on.
Sorry, that's my bad. Mr. Rapid himself. We talked to the captain, our captain, Jack Price. We talked to the hometown kid. Cole Bassett made an appearance.
Gold Bassett.
Cole Bassett, a grown man, some might say.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Dwayne
talk
might
about
say.
the kid anymore. Is no longer a kid. but we will
Hometown
get into that. We'll get
grown
into that.
ass man. And then we also talked to Kevin Cabral, which I thought was the most enlightening. It was probably him and Price were the ones that really drove any sort of speculation or theories or thoughts going into the season. But let's start with the captain, Jack
and
Price.
some Bassett too.
For sure. And
There's a
we'll get into that into
certain
segment 3.
number that
Yeah,
may
yeah,
have
yeah,
been
yeah.
thrown around.
Yeah,
You two were the
yeah,
ones
yeah.
that actually went and got the vibe of the
Yeah.
place. So I'm really curious to see what you guys say.
Let's
Yeah.
get into Jack. Jack is healthy. He said he feels healthy for the first time since, was it the calf or the hamstring first last year? I think it was the hamstring.
Now it was calf, then hamstring,
Then the calf. Like, this is the first time he has been healthy in like a year.
I think there was one game where he missed early for
Yeah.
a hamstring injury,
Yes.
and then he quickly came back.
Yes.
and then he had the calf issue, and then he had the hammy again, and then he had. Well, actually, sorry. After the calf issue was the bruised rib or cracked rib / punctured lung.
Punctured lung from the broken
from the
rib.
broken rib. Right?
Weirdest injury of all time.
Gnarly. That's like a car accident.
Yeah,
injury.
like-
That's like
which happened in his first game
Yeah.
back from injury, and so that's kept him out. And then he had the hamstring thing at the end of the
Yes.
season,
Yep.
which kept him
I
out.
think
of the
he
last
had
few
an
games.
illness too late.
Just also talk
Yeah.
about the worst luck imaginable, right?
But he's back.
Yeah.
He feels healthy. And you can pull up Logan's last comment there. Dwayne, I thought, had the question of that segment of the press conference. Like, it was a down year, and it's funny because it was a down year. They missed the playoffs by those 2 Houston games. So, like, literally, like, down year seems so terrible in retrospect, right? But Dwayne asked, like, what is the message out of from this team, from the captain to the fans? Like, where are your guys' heads at? Where should the fans' heads be at? And, we put the video up on our Twitter feed and on our Instagram, I believe, Instagram stories. And he waxed poetic. He brought up the playoff game, as did Keegan Rosenberry, brought up the playoff game from Thanksgiving. Clearly, Dwayne, and you can go into this here, but clearly that meant so much to those guys.
Yeah, we'll get into each of these players, and I had some overall thoughts too, but we can jump into that right away
Yeah.
because that's one of my overall thoughts is the playoff game on Thanksgiving is something we talk a lot about as fans, and kind of like how exciting it was, but it was also like such a bummer at the same time. And what I can tell you from hearing from Jack, hearing from Bassett, hearing from Keegan, is that game is a wound for this squad. Like they remember that match, and it's a wound both in a good way and a bad way. In the bad way, obviously that there's hurt there, and there's disappointment that loss happened. That they felt they controlled the game, the whole game, and then it just
They were such a better team.
Yeah, they were clearly the better team, and and it just Portland just had that weird run at the end of the season and into the playoffs where they had a lot of things fall their way. But anyway, the sincerity and the depth to which, like, you could hear it in the tone of their voice when they talk about the Thanksgiving game, that is something that is just, it is a part of each player that was on that squad that day.
Oh yeah.
Both from the hurt standpoint, but also in a good way, in the sense that the other thing they always mention is how electric the stadium was that day, and how much the energy from the fans meant to them. And you can tell, like, they long for it. Like, they mention it in a way that they are so desperate to get back to that and feel that energy from the fans and feel that full stadium and waving flags and cheering and singing and standing up and just being all in on the Rapids. And you could tell, like, that is a pivotal moment for this particular squad, is that that game is a benchmark for them. From a vibes kind of way.
Did they mention anything about, like, maybe wanting that a little bit more throughout the crowd, or was it just kind of like I remember that kind of thing?
They didn't call it out specifically, but you can tell they long for it. Like,
I think what it was, the tone I got out of Jack was more like, we need to earn that. Like,
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
like, ride with us. Like, we know last season didn't end the way anyone wanted to. It's not like they were happy with how the season ended, but more so it was like, we are here and we are trying to get this back to that, because we know that we're capable of it, and we know that you guys will show up in spades when we do reach those levels.
And
I was in the crowd that day. I wasn't
Sure,
media.
me too.
I was actually the credentialed DNVR reporter for that game.
Yeah, that's actually the first one we've ever covered as DNVR.
I was just in the crowd. I was about two sections over from. I was actually one section away from downtown Dwayne Brown season seats. Joseph, you were there too.
That's right. That's right.
You're over on the like midfield on the east
So
side.
this year I will be in the south stands.
What?
Yeah, big news.
You're gonna be standing up?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll be
That's
I'll be around. I'll be
Wow.
around.
But anyways,
the reason I just mentioned it is because going into this year, I have an undefeated record the Rapids have an undefeated record.
Wow, cool.
When
Way to
I
go.
watch
You ruined
games from the south stands. So
undefeated
I'm gonna
season
be
coming
there.
up. Points record. Let's
That's
go.
what I'm saying. Everybody get hyped.
That's responsibility there as a supporter.
I know. I was like,
appreciate it.
Changing your whole
I
seating,
appreciate it.
paying some, like, I'm guessing you paid less now because you don't have a seat. So saving some money and true hero.
So
know.
What?
before we
What
jump
can I
back-
But
say?
no, but I want to hear about like your day and your perspective on how great the crowd was, and like seeing that buy-in and the fan atmosphere. How
No, it's
great.
It was exciting because I saw a lot of people at that game that either I hadn't seen in a while, like at Rapids games, or only came out for like one or two games a year, and I was excited to see like sort of everybody show up for that, and bringing that crowd together. Like that, like for that game, like that was the best environment I've ever seen the Rapids in. Period. Like there just hasn't been a better one.
Even better than 2016, you think?
I was not in any stands for the playoffs in that year.
I was there, and I would say for the duration of the match, the Thanksgiving match was better. The
energy was there the
2016
whole
one really went into the red energy level during the PKs. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
like that level like peaked, but it was like a peak right there, but sustained that Thanksgiving game was amazing.
It also really feels like that the Thanksgiving game, the team really put a lot of effort to make it a thing.
The
Like
flags
that,
were
yeah.
dope. The whole thing was
Sure.
sick. It was a
Like,
great day.
You got Nikola Jokic, you got Broncos players over here, like Go Rapids. Like I thought it really brought a
It was
different
awesome.
type of energy.
You had all the landmarks in Denver lit up in Burgundy.
Yeah,
It was
and I
cool.
mean you never see that. Literally
Yeah.
never. See
I mean, you will if they
You
make
see
the
it in
playoffs
the
again.
apps.
You will if they make the playoffs again. I think you will. I
Last
really
thing
do.
on the Thanksgiving thing, before we get back into Jack and the rest of the players.
Yeah, because we don't got a lot of time left on the vets.
I want to say it's twofold, right? Like one, like the players feel they want to earn that back, but I also feel as a supporter and a fan, like we have just as much responsibility to bring it to each match as they do to put out their best on the field, right? So, I took that as kind of like an encouraging thing and also like, like a plea and Jack and the rest of the team asking like, we want you to, but we don't want you to just stand up and scream when a goal is scored. Like we want you there behind us and we want to feel, that energy from the crowd. So, just because it's related to what we talked to last week on the show and the stadium experience, like let's not forget about, the supporters' responsibility and the fans' responsibility to bring that energy as well.
Keegan also mentioned Thanksgiving, and more so than that, I think the best stuff we got out of Keegan, besides the feeling good, nice to meet my new teammates, yada, yada, everyone says that, was actually him talking about the World Cup.
Yes.
He clearly sat down and watched. I mean, we all watched every game, whatever, but like,
He clearly did though. Like,
but
no
what the
faking
way
it.
for him to describe like the difference in the level, right? Like he is in awe of these guys. This guy is a very good MLS starter, right? He is a starter in a top 10 league in the world. And he is watching this in just complete and total awe
Yeah.
of these guys, the set pieces, and he kept mentioning like all these games are coming down to like the last 10 minutes, and to just have the margin for error be so slim on all these games. Like literally I would say 2/3 at least came down to that final 10 minutes, if not less. And he was just, that was his longest answer. It might have been one of the longest answers we got from any player on the day.
Easy.
That was my question. No big deal.
Very loquacious, a very loquacious response.
Two best questions of the day, DNVR people. Apparently. So let's go. I'm all for it. I live for that shit.
It was funny
We'd
too.
like
Every
to take a
time,
moment to thank Mitch. For
yeah,
this
thank
question.
you're welcome.
Oh, you too, man. You asked a great prize question.
Anytime someone would get to the podium, everyone would just turn and look at Matt Pollard though to like, go ahead, kick us off. And that's the new tradition. But man, no, it was because Keegan's not going to be in any U.S. men's national team camps. He's at the level he's at, and he'll probably that'll probably be where he stays at.
But the thing about Keegan, and this is something I didn't know. I mean, we watched the show when Keegan. I was watching from home that day when
Yeah.
Keegan came on the show, and the one thing I noticed, I was like, well, Keegan's kind of a quiet dude. Like when he gets a question, he's kind of a quiet dude. But what I realized because of that World Cup question, is like you said, like this guy is a starter in a top 10 league in the world. But Keegan, like you could tell with that World Cup answer that he is a scholar of the game.
Oh, big time,
Like,
big time.
Just undercover, brilliant mind dissecting the game. And just, I mean, he got very deep in the,
He did.
that
He did.
answer.
Quick
And it was
go ahead.
awesome.
Do you guys think he might be like transitioning into a coaching
I
role?
was
Oh
gonna
my
ask
god,
the
like,
exact
he is
same
going to
thing,
be
yeah.
he is going to be such
He
a good
could
coach. I'll tell you,
easily-
like, dude,
he could easily
Yeah.
do
Because
that.
that's kind of like what
He's-
Drew Moore sounded a lot like. when he used
to me,
talk.
Drew's media
Yeah,
bound
he seems
forever. That
commentating.
guy,
No,
Yeah.
he's very good, but like he also had that like mind
Sure,
where
sure.
he can like. We had him on the pod, and like the
Yeah.
way he dissected stuff was like
Totally.
things that you just didn't see.
Well, I
Yeah.
think these guys. I mean, especially Drew Moore, who had 20 professional seasons or something like that, more
Two
than
MLS
that.
Cups.
Yeah, 2 MLS Cups. I
3,000.
think it's
Top
impossible to
3,000.
operate at that level without that sort of analytical, those analytical checkpoints in your head
Mindset.
where you can
Yeah.
just see everything in a different way, right? Because not only do you know the tactics, like all of us can sit here and study tactics and see how they're going to approach extra time or they're down a man. What are they going to do here? But he also knows the emotions tied to it. Right, he knows
The
how
intricacies.
tired you are when you're down one defending. Like he's done that, right? So that's where that level comes in. But Keegan is so calm and patient and thoughtful.
Yes.
And I don't see, I mean, he does remind me of Frazier in that way, where I could see him being on that sideline in a very similar way, where
Sure.
he obviously very defensive minded, but he
But he
knows
has
how to
the-
coach rockets. I mean, he can coach rockets right
I
now.
feel like
dude.
defenders generally make better coaches than attackers end up being because
I
Name
mean,
one good
I don't
coach that
know.
was an
Wayne
attacker.
Rooney's a head coach right
Johan
now.
Cruyff.
No, we said good.
I think Wayne Rooney's fine.
He's not. Cruyff is actually
Cruyff
total
was-
football. Yeah.
Cruyff was a
For the
good
most
coach.
part, though, I think
But I
keepers
do-
and defenders are the ones you want.
I think midfielders. I think are my favorite.
That's
Interesting.
Two of the three.
I mean,
four are the
Zidane,
best,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you got Pep, you got Arteta, you
Yeah,
got.
true. All right, well, let's.
I will say outside of the World Cup answer, the one thing that stood out from Keegan is we were talking about the difference. I don't remember who asked the question. Might have been Matt. Was asking about the difference between last season and this season coming up. And he said one of the things was treating the first 5 to 10 games like the last 5 to 10 games with that intensity and that urgency. And that was something that he wanted to see as well, which I
What?
thought was pretty cool.
That's something I remember very vividly you saying on an early podcast last season when we were lamenting, I think, drop points against San Jose
Yeah.
and or Houston.
Yeah, I was
where-
livid. It was
yeah,
San Jose.
where-
No, it
where-
was Charlotte.
where-
It was Charlotte at
Charlotte.
home. And I was like, what the hell are we doing? This counts the same now as it does in September. And that was 2 points that shouldn't have. Oh,
I have good
we're not
news
getting
for
started.
you.
We're not getting started.
Keegan
we're not getting
is
started.
also there.
But he feels the
He's
exact
thinking
same way.
that
He's
way.
like, we are going to.
Yes.
He used the term, we need to scrape up points, which I thought was a very interesting way of putting it, and
Yep.
absolutely described the mindset they need on the road that they didn't have last year. They are going to be scrappy. We are going to see them dogs on the road. Okay,
yeah.
hang on. I have to get to these ad reads. We are behind as
Okay.
we do go on. We need to talk about the newest homies of DNVR. You're going to see them all across the whole brand, all the shows. We are going. You see how bright these lights are? You know what you need when you're sitting here on set?
I know. I wish I had
You
some right
need
now.
some Shady Rays, baby. Let's go. Kick off the new year with the new gear built to last. There it is. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered from the sun to the slopes with premium polarized shades, customizable snow goggles, and much more. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase a pair. If you don't love them, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop at Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for DNVR listeners. Because those day games in that C38 tailgate, you need some shades. Shady Rays is giving out best deal of the new year. Go to shadyrays.com, use code DNVR, or visit them in store at Park Meadows for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That is a
Boom.
buy one,
2
get
for
one. So try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. Shady Rays, shout out to the new homies. And the old homies, Game Time. Game Time is the hottest new ticketing site. Makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concert, and shows. What is your dream seat? Is there a seat that you've never sat in, like a courtside or anything like that, Joseph?
Oh, at like any event?
Any event.
Any
I
event?
really thought he was gonna say coaching seat for a minute there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I was Frazier. I'll take.
Yeah, I'll take Frazier's spot. Yeah.
No, I actually.
Fortunately, not available on
I
SeatGeek.
actually wouldn't.
Or sorry,
take-
wow, did I say SeatGeek? Game Time. I'm so sorry. It's Game Time.
I actually wouldn't.
I'm so sorry. Strike that from the record.
I wouldn't take
Air horns.
Frazier's coaching seat because, as we all know, the Rapids bench is one of the few in the league.
Sure.
Is an actual metal bench.
Yeah.
As opposed to the nice
Sure.
leather
Sure.
Audi seats or
Well, what
whatever.
is the seat you would want to sit in? Whether it's at Dick or anywhere else.
It's right
Let's-
here.
Shut
no,
up. This
right
isn't
here,
available
that's-
on Game Time.
How
God.
about field side seats at MLS Cup final?
What? Well, guess
go.
what? You can get those on the Game Time app because it's possible there. Biggest last minute price drops can be found on the seats that you thought you could never buy. Tickets, the Chargers game, the Broncos Chargers, 10 this season, you get $2 tickets on Game Time. That's how cheap it is.
Incredible.
You will not find a better deal this season on Nuggets, Avs. And coming up on the PIDs, created by fans for fans, guarantees the lowest price. If you love DNVR, you love Game Time, best way to support us. When you buy those tickets, there is a link in the show notes on YouTube right there. Thank you, Tiff. Join over 15 million people who've downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Okay, let's get into it. The new guys. No, yes. I want to start with the new guys because I have something from Cole into our third segment. So
He's one of the new guys, even though he
he
came
is
back.
he is technically a new guy.
because
Yes,
he doesn't know everybody.
he's a
on the
new
squad.
man. He's
Yeah.
grown man now.
He is a grown.
That year, he's
Yes,
seen some.
it's
He's
crazy.
seen some stuff.
Let me just say this. The one last point before moving on. Keegan looks cut, dude. Like he looks
all look cut.
shred. No. But we've had him in studio. We've talked to him. We watch all the film, but he looks really good going into the season. So that's tight. Okay, Calvin Harris first. We'll talk Calvin Harris. Man, just what a positive guy. Bubbly. Like the mood elevated quickly. Like I think we were all hyped to be there and like
he was
get started on this.
to start it off.
100% could not have had a better intro to media day. And Joseph, I'm sure you've dug into Calvin Harris film as much as any of us, but just the way he answered questions has me excited to see this kid play.
Sure. Yeah. The thing about Calvin Harris is really interesting because the Rapids were really in for him in 2021.
In the draft. Yep, they traded up to 3.
They initially
thinking that Mayaka was going to go in the top
which
2.
is what everybody thought.
Everyone
would
in the whole
happen.
league
like
thought
every
that.
single mock draft. I remember looking at the time.
Now
every single-
Pereira's a fucking stud.
P.
and
Ray,
everybody
shut up.
everybody was like the top 2 are gonna be Pereira and Mayaka. Just nobody knew which order. Nobody knew which one like would go to Austin and which one. Anyways, so the Rapids traded up with
Sure.
the ideas like we're gonna get Harris, and then they had to I guess settle for Mayaka. And we've seen from the last 2 years that Mayaka just didn't pan out. Mayaka
He was
moved-
not
he's-
good.
He's now with Charlotte's MLS Next Pro team. So in case you're wondering where he ended up. But yeah, Harris, very versatile forward. Is how I would describe him.
Absolutely can play across the formation.
Yeah, I would say he's not someone you necessarily start at the 9 week in and week out, but he's someone who could theoretically do a job there.
He's tall. He's definitely like 6'1", 6'2". He's a big dude.
I
I
feel
believe
like
the words he said were decently tall.
Decently. So British. It's so British.
as opposed to like someone like me who's decently short, right?
You
Is that
are
what
decent. That's a nice way to put it. Yes.
Decently medium.
Yeah. Decently average.
yeah, so I feel with Calvin Harris, you've got somebody who's good on the ball,
Yep.
who can do a job
Yep.
on both wings.
Great first touch to create space to get up to speed, which is
Yes.
what I also noticed with
Yes.
Cabral. So clearly,
I was about to say, they're
clearly
very
a type.
similar.
Yep, clearly a type.
Harris is not necessarily, I guess, someone I would describe as the paciest forward, right? But
No.
he can
Yeah,
create
0 to
space
60
for
is- yep.
himself to like get past defenders,
It
right?
feels
It's-
like he doesn't have speed; he has acceleration, which
Exactly.
is where he really takes advantage of that.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. So I don't know, Dwayne. What was your takeaway from talking to him? I really enjoyed his presence. I enjoyed talking. Enjoyed the few. I hope to get some time with him at practice or something soon to be able to really chop it up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just talked about him as a player. So talk to him about as a person, and
Nice.
which we've met.
You're such a humanist. I love
I am. He's such a super
it. Kind.
like just a very kind, very English young man. I don't know how to say. He's an Englishman, you
Is he
know.
just
very
a younger
British.
Jack
He's
Price?
He's very British.
Well, here's what I will say. His attitude and demeanor will make him an instant fan favorite
Yes.
if he's contributing to the team in the way we think he will.
Well, based on the Wings last
could
year, he has
be-
to score one time
Yeah.
or assist one time.
I mean, Jonathan Lewis did, and it still wasn't enough.
I mean, I think
I mostly mean Nicholson, but you know.
he's Jack Price likable. Like I
Oh,
think,
100%,
I
100%.
think that's how much the fans are gonna love him.
If you're missing your charming posh British accent from Fleming, you can get it
yeah.
with Harris. That is
Yes.
it is very eloquent, soft, very nice, fun to talk to.
We're this close to becoming AFC Richmond.
We are.
This
We're
close.
right there. We just need a football is life-esque character.
That's Rubio. What are you talking about?
but he's scary
That
about
is
it. He's
Rubio.
too
The
scary.
thing about Calvin, the thing about Calvin that I really like is that if he does pan out, he's an MLS.
Is that he can
Yeah.
drop the beat.
There we go. But I really like that he's gonna be like an MLS guy. I feel like he might not make the jump to Europe for whatever reason. I feel like he would kind of stay
Totally.
in the States, and that's I think what the
Yeah.
Rapids have to start targeting a little bit more. Because I get that they're trying to be a farm team. They're trying to be the Ajax. They're trying
Yep.
to be all the
Yep.
Barças when they had La Masia. But like you also at some point kind of start worrying about your team and start kind of creating these plays.
We talked about this sometime in the last month or so, but I feel like there's now, and maybe Joseph, you have a take on this, but I feel like there is almost a market inefficiency on guys with MLS ceilings. Like guys who are going to be
Yes.
MLS players.
Yeah,
and I
that's-
feel like there's just, for some reason, everyone's so focused on upside and sell on percentage or finding or mining overseas leagues like you saw success in Philly last year,
I
right?
think this is almost true in a lot of leagues that are like selling focused leagues, right? That people get really lasered in on. We need this guy to either be we need this guy to like sell on for double what we paid for him, right?
Right.
Or we need everyone to be the next big thing. You don't see a lot of people focusing on trying to acquire players like Chris Wondolowski,
Sure.
right?
Jack Price.
Walker
Jack
Zimmerman when he moved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Walker
Yeah.
Zimmerman is a great example.
That is an MLS
Kellen
guy.
Acosta
Yeah.
is like I
Mark
feel
Anthony
like
K, the Rapids had two of them.
Yes.
Mark
Yeah.
Anthony
There you
K
go.
and Kellen
Yes.
Acosta.
Oh God.
and I think without relitigating like the 2021 offseason
Let's
all over
relegate
again,
it. Let's,
right?
whatever you said, let's
like-
that again.
Yeah, air horns over that whole segment, dude. I don't want to relive that. But I
yeah,
think
you-
I
you're
see
right.
Calvin Harris as that level guy, of a guy that can kind of grow into a role
100%.
and be impactful at the MLS level and not worry about getting poached by, a championship
Bruges.
team or Bruges
Yeah.
or one of these lower European leagues.
I guess my
Dwayne
point
Taylor,
is that like when
Yeah.
a lot of people look at the number thing, right? They often look at it as like, okay, like we spent XYZ to acquire a player and we spent XYZ paying him,
Yes.
right? We need to make that back and more, right? When in reality, you also have to account for the value said player provided during the course of his contract, right? Like, so I think what Porrick Smith and what the Rapids often look at is when they buy a player, when they look for a player, like not only is it going to be a player that they could potentially like be made whole on in the future, it's also a player that will provide that level of value for the team. Even if they lose that player on a free, even if they don't make any like transfer fee off of him, they've still made that sum of money back, I guess, over the course
Yeah.
of that
A
contract.
good one I think is Max and Lucas.
Yeah.
Lucas
And
made
Lewis.
him. They're like two of the two kind of players that came from a different league, and instead of like looking at their whole value, they're just looking at like the price point at the beginning and the price point right after, which is what they're expecting from those two players.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. Max might be the perfect guy because
Yeah, he.
No,
is pretty
I
perfect.
mean, who knows? The learning curve isn't linear, and it's not, and sometimes there's peaks and valleys to it. Maybe he does become a Arrivederci kind of guy or something like that. Maybe, who knows? But for now, I think he can grow into a role much like we can envision from Calvin Harris and a Max, and guys like that can turn into MLS level guys. Dwayne, any other thoughts on Calvin before we jump into Kevin?
I'm telling you, if you're watching right now, Calvin Harris is going to be one of your new favorite players.
100%.
Did he give you guys his new mixtape?
He was just back there like chopping
Isn't
it
he at
up. It was
Coachella?
sick. Yeah. Kevin Cabral,
Sorry,
DP.
We're all gonna get sick of those jokes. I
No,
guess,
we won't.
Like 2 months into the season.
I'm gonna
pretty
run
sure.
that straight into the ground. Better believe it.
Okay.
You know when to mute him.
Air horns over that joke. Okay. Kevin Cabral.
Post-production.
He is a DP. There it is. Thank you, Tim.
Very timely.
Bad joke. There we go.
It was
Okay.
right on time.
You guys missed the joke, so good for you. Kevin Cabral is the only current designated player on the roster. And I just want to bring up something he said.
Technically,
and open
they
it.
did.
Jack, right?
They did keep. So the funny thing about
So this is according to Porg
Oh,
from
sure,
the
sure.
horse's
So
mouth.
that
He
means-
is the
that
DP
means
on the
they
roster.
so that means that
Tam.
they are pay. So like last year, what happened?
Yes,
with
they paid
Price
down. Yep.
is
They
that
buyed him.
they chose not to buy him down, and instead had KSC pick up
Correct.
the difference between.
They're going to pay him down to 10.
They're actually
Yes.
going to pay him down this year.
Okay,
They
so-
buy him down.
I'm just going to bring up one of his answers and then open it up to the floor because I think the initial Cabral conversation across Rapidsdom was negative because you saw how poor the forward play was, and then you added a guy who underperformed at a somehow worse rate than the forwards
One
that
of
the
the
Rapids had.
three
Yes,
players.
quite literally worse. Yes.
Well, one of the 3 players who performed
Who were worse than Lewis?
with
But
worse than Lewis.
that
We
being
got
said,
2 of the top 3. Let's
yes,
go.
let's go. That being said,
I was in on Cabral.
I'm in on Cabral too.
And now I'm
Here's
even
what
more,
he said.
and here's why.
Here's what he said. Matt Pollard, shout out, Burgundy Wave, the homie, had a question where he said, "Are you disappointed with how your time at Galaxy ended?" And which I think is fair, right? You're in a new situation. There's going to be expectations of contributing often because he is the highest paid player. Even with half off, he's the highest paid player. And maybe this is just, he does speak some English, but pretty much it was 1 and 2 sentence answers just due to his lack of English.
Does he speak
But
more
the
Spanish?
way, I think it's just French. I think it's straight French. He said, and he put it this way: nothing can be perfect. He's ready to be here, and he is ready to play, and he is ready to contribute. And I am sold on him with just the way he approached the answer of, were you disappointed? Were you mad? Like he says, no, nothing can be perfect. I'm a player. I'm here to play. I'm here to contribute. And God, I'm sold on I like him
I
so
know.
much.
It's funny. It's funny that a guy, and it was a hard session because the language barrier was pretty big.
Great point from B-Ray here too. The Galaxy guys love him. Love him.
Yes. Every question that was brought up, it didn't matter what the question was. The answer was coming from the same area of, it doesn't matter. I'm going to do my best at whatever the answer
Correct.
to that question is. And he was all, it's just one, and Mitch and I talked about this. I was like, I always feel guilty that as a kid who grew up in the United States, I only learned one language because it's such a disservice to everyone else who learns multiple languages. You have to come here and learn an extra language that English is so difficult to learn. And it's like, I've never learned anything else. So it's like, for me, I was so bummed out that I couldn't ask him anything in French and get a deep, genuine answer.
Because I think he has that in him.
Yeah, he does. Oh, for sure, for sure. But even with that barrier, he went all in on as much as he could answer, and was very upfront. It was questions of, can you play across the front? And he was like, yes, I can play across the front, and I will play wherever I'm put. And
He
I will
actually
play
talked about how
very-
much he likes playing the 9.
Yeah.
Most comfortable on the left, but he really enjoys being up front. He is, like Harris, very tall.
I feel
Yes.
like his work rate does make him sort of a perfect winger. He does
Oh
seem
God,
like,
yeah.
Like
He is a guy whose first touch opens up space, much like Lewis, who he said when asked, who do you want to play with the most? Who are you looking forward to playing with the most? Called out by name, Jonathan Lewis.
Yep.
That's
Burners on the outside, either side.
I'm not gonna lie,
Counters.
that again, not talent wise, but the way they play the game, very David Villa inverted winger is what I see for him.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I would prefer, especially if you're playing Nubia at the 9, where you can drop him back a little bit more. Kevin has been one of those guys that makes the perfect run almost every time. His finishing has always been the problem.
We saw that last year with
but,
Giassi.
his runs are exactly what you need on a team like this with such a creative 9 at the helm.
I think he's going to fit in so well. I think he does exactly what this team
that sort
does
of
well.
mentality is, I feel, almost universally present in the type of players that the Rapids do
Yes.
go out.
Yeah.
Like Porg really likes players who can fill in a bunch of different positions.
Strap up on-
and who
strap
are
on your work boots and let's go.
willing to just be wherever they need to be on the field to better the whole of the team. We've seen this with Rosenberry, right?
Galvan.
Playing
Yeah.
literally every defensive
Yeah.
position last
Yeah.
season. Left back, center back, central center back, right back. With Galvan when he's played left back, winger.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he does everything that's
Yeah.
needed. Yeah.
The Rapids love a good versatile player, which
Yeah.
makes my perspective kind of difficult because it makes like end of season reviews like
What did
really-
he do and where did he do it? And, like,
Exactly, it makes that really difficult. But from a coaching perspective, you love to have those kind of.
oh
guys
yeah,
on the
because you can
team.
move everything around, and we'll get this in the third segment a little bit more on
Yeah.
lineups. But it gives you so much more versatility.
Yeah.
And being able to move around and do
Totally.
so many different things.
Yeah, I'll say this.
Any other points? Yeah, wrap it up.
Last thing
Yeah.
for Cabral is that, like you can teach talent and you can teach skills, and like clearly he has those skills and can learn more. The thing that's very hard, if not impossible to teach, is attitude and motivation. And like in his answers, he dropped that. Like very obviously in those answers, even in just a few words, he conveyed that motivation and the attitude of, I am here to work.
Yes.
And
100%.
that, dude, I am so
I'm
in on the Cabral train.
This is a
Like,
Cabral pod for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
Especially on like a
absolutely.
discount from what LA got it. Like,
Dude, I am all in.
I
Yeah.
will say, like, the initial negative reaction to the trade was very much dampened, I feel, by the additional quirk, which is that LA is going to be taking up half of the salary.
Yeah.
I don't know if
For
you guys
sure.
seen Moneyball, but there's like literally a scene where they're like, the New York Yankees are or the coach tells a guy, like, the New York Yankees are paying you paying us
Yeah.
half their salary to play against them, right?
Yeah, it's
And
fantastic.
It's like literally that situation.
It's gorgeous.
Verbatim.
And I
I
can't.
can't wait for the hat trick.
You
in
know
LA.
what's funny
that's
is
the thing,
that
we
came
play
up. We're
LA
like,
twice this
yeah,
year.
and they're like, "Hey, are you
Mamma
excited to
mia.
play him? Are you
Yeah,
excited
I
to play
asked him
them?"
that. I asked
And he
him.
was like, "I don't think
Didn't
about it
care.
any more than any
Like,
other game."
just didn't
He's the
care.
coolest dude. I'm
Yeah.
all in. I can't wait to hang out with him at practice and
That
get
was
to
my
know
Like,
him.
big
you
more.
one.
guy
Yeah.
besides Keegan.
He's got drip for sure.
That's what it feels like.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
stoked on him. Okay, guys, we need to talk about some of our other homies. We were just talking about the Rapids homies. We need to talk about the Burrito homies.
Oh, man.
We need to talk about Illegal Pete's.
Burrito homies.
Illegal Pete's. Are you guys doing a new diet? Is it New Year, New You? Guess where you can eat? That's right, Illegal Pete's. You don't have to like sacrifice anything to fill in whatever diet that is. Keto, low carb.
They got vegan options.
Tons of vegan options.
Let's
totally.
go.
They do. They
Honestly,
do.
that's like one of the coolest things about it is all the vegan options.
You're vegan?
I'm vegetarian. Wife's vegan.
His wife's a vegan. They make some mean vegan snacks for MLS games, though.
I don't get
it's
meat
true.
options when I go to Illegal Pete's. And I'm
It's true.
vegetarian. And I love it.
Hell
They
yeah.
have endless options of fresh ingredients that can fit almost any diet or dietary restriction. It is a no-brainer. Eat Pete's for the health of it. Oh, that was good. Check out any of their 10 Colorado locations for happy hour, 3 to 6 p.m. every day. Are you not doing happy hours this month? Is it maybe not a diet? It's a dry January. Crack open a refreshing Hoplark Citra at any Illegal Pete's location. It's everything you love about an ice cold beer, except it's dry January friendly. Let's see. What's my tip of the day? Tip of the day.
Give me a nachos tip if you have one.
Mitch's
Here's
Insider
what you do
Pete's
with
tip of the
nachos.
day.
And I have converted pretty much the entire DNVR staff to this way of the nachos. It is
I'm one of those
Colorado nachos. So one instead of 2 scoops of queso, 1 scoop of green chili, vegan option on that as well. 1 scoop of queso, right? So it gets all that flavor of the chili. You still get the gooey queso-ness, but you do it reverse.
Yes.
Where they basically make a burrito bowl of goop and you scoop it with dry chips.
Folks,
And
this is
it
the tip of the year.
The light.
It is.
It is the way of nachos. So make sure you're doing it that way. Illegal Pete's. It is our go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. Right down the street. My buddies have had beers and burritos with me there. So we also need to talk about the OG partners of DNVR. It is Green Mountain Dental Group. There, the most rewarding thing about DNVR is seeing the connections made through our listeners in this community. Green Mountain Dental, they're an OG partner because they were OG listeners. They have been on this forever, and they are major Colorado sports fans. We have had fans and staff. Most of the staff goes and gets their stuff done at Green Mountain Dental. They convert and they never look back. Located just 15 minutes from downtown Denver in Lakewood. CSU alum Dr. Ben and his team have you covered from general dentistry like cleanings, orthodontics, like removing your wisdom teeth. Have you guys had your wisdom teeth pulled?
Yes.
I got all 4
I
out at
had
once.
'em-
Bang,
they
bang,
weren't-
bang, bang.
They weren't pulled. They were like cut out and stuff.
Sure.
I've never had them.
That's how we did it back in the 1700s.
And everything else, yeah. Did they have dentistry then? Without anesthesia? That's crazy.
Before Green Mountain Dental existed.
Green Mountain Dental has a few offers for the DNVR fam. Tell the team that DNVR Sports Center you get a $300 discount for full orthodontics treatment for new patients. And if you mention DNVR Sports, you get a free set of bleach trays. That is a $350 value. New patient cleaning, exam, and x-rays. Lastly, for all the hygienists out there, Green Mountain Dental is hiring. My mom was a dental hygienist. Tough job. Make sure you appreciate your hygienist. Full and part-time positions are available. They are willing to work with your schedule, as well as offering a great benefits package with healthcare and PTO. To make an appointment or find more information, check out their website, greenmountaindentalgroup.com. Okay. The last guy, and this is going to lead into our conversation because we wanted to talk about potential lineups now that we've kind of seen where the roster's at, and we've talked to some guys and kind of gotten a feel for how they're doing. Cole Bassett,
Oh man.
number one.
It's gonna be so nice to have him back on the team.
He
I
is
love Cole.
no longer a child.
Guys,
That dude
I'm
is
telling you.
ready to play some professional sports.
It-
Built,
it is
tall,
weird.
mature, just a totally different vibe to him in a good way, in a very
Yes,
positive
all
way,
positive.
in an encouraging way for a guy that's going to come back and needs to be productive. I am hyped to have Cole Bassett back.
Yes. You know when they do TV series and it takes like a year to film it because it's like a really in-depth TV series?
Yes.
And so it's like when you come back for season
Game of Thrones,
2,
perhaps?
Yeah, you come back in season 2 and like the younger characters are like all grown up and
Yes.
you're like, oh man, that must have taken, it must have been 7 years since the last time we saw him. Like that's how it felt yesterday. Like it's only been 1 year, but Cole Bassett is a grown ass man.
I'm
Like,
so
he
ready.
came back
I'm so ready.
like you could tell that year living away from home and playing in Europe, like he is a mature player for his age now, and like you can tell like however long he's here, he is on leadership track. Like
yeah.
hearing him talk was no longer the young kid talking about how cool it was and how thankful he was to be a part of an MLS team. He talked about, here's
Winning.
where I'm working out. I'm working hard. I'm working with my brother. We're training here. We're doing this. This is, the parts that I did a great job with Rapids, like finding the ball and trying to be in the right place and put it on net. But I gave up the ball a lot too, and I've been working on that. And I didn't get to start all the time at Feyenoord because the competition was very, very tough. And I learned from that, and I knew my place and like worked harder to get there. And everything was just like, dialed in. Like, this is a dude who is working hard and becoming a straight up pro.
Yep.
He's got
He
that
is not the
determination.
kid anymore. Like, he is Cole Bassett, MLS, European pro soccer player.
I'm excited.
And he's going for it.
That's good.
Absolutely.
It was awesome.
He mentioned it, and I think this is something I meant to bring up. He mentioned just like the culture of winning in this town. When teams are winning, this town shows up. But he
You would
also
know.
kind of mentioned that this team definitely has a good vibe together already in terms of just interactions that they've had, which has only been very limited. Everyone got here Friday, right? Like,
Yeah.
they haven't been here a week. But
And some people still.
Yeah, they haven't
Aren't
trained
around.
together.
That's
yet.
true. Not
They haven't
everyone
trained
is here.
together
Max
yet.
is still in Brazil.
I think Max is
Rubio's
still in
also
Brazil.
in
Rubio's
in
in San Jose.
California. Yeah.
Yappy's at men's national team camp.
Miami.
Yeah.
In Miami. But, and this was, I believe, Jack Price said, the playoff team was a cohesive unit, a team that played well together on the field and enjoyed each other's company off the field. So
I do
team
want to
dinners.
highlight Logan's comment.
Go for it.
Because Sam Bassett had.
Well, that's
and-
so far off subject.
No,
of
but
what
you
I'm
mentioned,
saying.
you mentioned it. It's the same. I was just. It
It's the
came
same
up.
last name.
I'm just kidding. No, it's true. He's a beast at DU. You should go to
kicked
DU games. Yes.
But at DU this past fall.
Some would say shades of a young Andre Shinyashiki.
Shades, indeed.
Shades. Like Shady Rays. Use promo code DNVR. two plugs.
Take me far away from that. Like, to the other side if it's that, honestly. Shade to Shinashiki.
He set the DU goal record.
Yeah, but then what do you do in the MLS?
He was
Just one
rookie of the year.
And then after
Yeah,
that,
he's rookie of the year.
yeah, and then after that, what do you do?
And it fell off a little bit, and then
Not
he went
enough.
to another club and like
And
blew it up.
scored
down
a bunch
there,
of goals.
too.
Yeah.
No, but that was only for the beginning.
Yeah,
and then he
so
kind of.
I'm gonna say he
then
did pretty
just
good.
went back
Yeah,
to Shinashiki.
Okay.
Yaya is right there. He did
Jesus
fall.
Christ.
He did fall off towards the end
This
of
is
last
I
season.
follow
This is
Rapids. I follow
hurting.
soccer.
No.
This is hurting.
Everybody saw
Cats.
the Open Cup goal and they saw like the goal on his debut and they were like, he's lighting it up. And then he did. Shinashiki did what Shinashiki does, and he went a teeny bit quiet.
Teeny is a nice word.
He went a little bit quiet, but still love that guy.
Sure. All right, are we good?
Look at what you've done, Logan.
Shit out
Look
of
at
here.
what you've done.
Jesus Christ.
We're like,
Thanks, Logan.
Logan is the
Or Tangent City.
Look, okay.
he's breaking up the band.
What they said was, and what felt encouraging was, I think this team, compared to last year, and I think it had a lot to do with a certain Brazilian left back that's no longer here, is going to be a more cohesive team than they had on the field last year.
Sure.
So are we? I don't mean to like, I guess, pull that thread.
Well,
But
don't.
you seem to be implying that I guess there may have been a lot of chemistry issues on the side of the pitch that where Estevez was last year.
You know,
you
I
can
don't.
also kind of see it on the
I
pitch.
could say
though.
it.
Like,
I
you
could not
see
say it. I mean,
on
the dude's a
pitch.
hothead, clearly.
Not
I mean,
just a hothead. Like Rubio's a hothead, but the
In a
thing is
different
also-
way.
Yeah, like again, they're like
he's a
hotheads. are-
controlled versus just like
No, but like
an
there's plenty of
open
hot-
jet engine.
There's
Like,
plenty of hotheads on this team because you look at Brian Acosta, you look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Rubio,
Yeah.
you also look at Estevez. The thing is, who are you a hothead against? Are you against your team,
Sure.
or are you head against the other team? Like
Sure.
that's the main issue of that.
Yeah. But the other thing he brought up, and while he was talking about all this stuff, speaking eloquently about the Avs winning and how nice it is to see the playoff game and the crowds for the parade, and yada yada, he also just kept calling himself the 10.
Bassett did.
This was key.
And this is why
both
I
picked
didn't
up
put
on
this. I almost put it on Twitter, and I wanted to save it for this conversation to end this pod today. Because if he is referring to himself as the 10, and you hear Jack Price talking about how they aren't bringing in a striker, and nothing has materialized yet, that doesn't mean it won't. It's a long
it can
window,
happen.
plenty of time. That being said, I am fully prepared for last year's formation with the 4 attackers, except it's Bassett at the 10, Rubio at the 9, Cabral on the left, Lewis on the right. I'm ready, and I believe I would be shocked if it's not that formation up top to start the season.
Would you be here? The only way I'll I guess not necessarily disagree, but I could see Frazier also going with a 3-4-3 with Price and Bassett in the middle.
Yeah, sort
and
of like
Bassett's-
2 high 8s, I guess.
And
yeah.
Bassett's whole goal is to be a more attacking midfielder relative to Price, who will sit back a bit.
Take one of the mid spaces that
Yeah.
Rubio can operate in the other one.
And
if
I
he
get
which
did.
Cole is very good at. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when he was
Sure,
here last time.
but I think a 4-2-3-1, which is sort of how they played for most of last season. When they played at their best.
4-3-3-ish, yeah.
If you know,
it's all the same.
yeah,
the fourth.
It's basically
but-
the same
It's just
thing.
how you occupy.
But
the
being
space.
it, so I would say,
Exactly.
I think in my ideal world, it's Max and Price in sort of and then Bassett, kind of like a 1,
So you
2,
you see
3,
Max as the Ocho.
like the true 8. Yes.
Yeah, actually, I'm not that far off because the way I look at that, it's what I'm kind of basing this off of is Frazier went to go.
Yes, B-Ray, that would be tight. Let's go.
3-3-4. Love it. I'm in.
What I'm basing this off of is when Frazier did go to Arsenal and he did study with Arteta for a week or two. So the way Arteta plays, he plays with the 4-3-3, but both of his eights push really high up, and they take up the mid spaces while they play with inverted wingers because they have super fast wingers.
Yep.
Just like the Rapids. So if he did study with that, he's bringing in something new. So I would put Max and Cole on those double eights, and that would make them into really high 10, into really high eights.
Basically 2 10s that can drop back when needed.
Exactly. That they cover that would be like the Odegaard kind of like. So if you ever see Arsenal play, it's like Odegaard pushing all the way up and then bring it back down. Then you have that, and then you have Jack at that 6 role that you could really rely on defensively and as a deep line playmaker.
Yep.
With those inverted, and you have really, if you can get a left back that's really good on the ball, and then you have Rosenberry that's really good on the ball, you can make them into inverted wing backs, and now you basically clearly playing a 2-2-1-2-2 at the
2-2-1-2-2. You
yeah,
heard it
like
here first.
you're really gonna overcrowd the middle, and you're just gonna let your wingers play,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna bring you're gonna try to pull the defense down with Rubio.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
and that just is all just stemming from his confidence of calling himself the 10.
Well, there's also the wrinkle that when Bassett was here in 2021, he played. I don't want to call him a winger, right? But ostensibly, the Rapids had like 3 attackers.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
he was one that was usually
Mostly
out
out wide, yep.
But he would like
Yep,
kind
yep.
of like cut inside a bunch and occupy like zone 14 above the box.
Yep.
I
Which
could
is where I
also
see him hanging out a lot this year, too.
Yeah,
He
I could-
drifts a lot too. He loves to drift to
Yeah,
to
so-
the left side.
Which,
Left.
unfortunately, is exactly what Max does. And they're probably going to share the field a ton.
So you think that it's more likely that they share the field together as opposed to them sort of serving as each other's backup?
I would love it.
I
I
think
want
if
them
they're
to play.
sharing the
I want
field.
them to play together.
Okay.
I mean, God,
I-
please.
and I think it's
I
gonna
want as many
be-
max minutes as possible.
And I think it's gonna be Cole on the right,
Yeah.
on the right 8, and Max on the left because
Yep.
they can. Cole
Yeah.
is really good on both.
Beaver
both
makes a
feet.
good point. Where's Galvan then, though?
Galvan's gonna play one of the winger roles, and I think
Yeah.
I really do
gonna be
think
a
it's
wing
gonna
back.
be
I think he's going to be the super sub.
yeah.
Winger,
Galvan
10.
is super sub Galvan.
No.
Where's he going to start?
You
Left
take
back.
Lewis. No,
Left
you
back.
take Lewis
Left
out.
back, yeah.
You dude, I would literally take Lewis out for Galvan because Galvan is way more dynamic, and Lewis had a great season.
I hope
but
so.
Galvan can
I
finish.
hope so. I mean, it's going to see how camp is.
I
Right
just
now,
think,
you're
though,
not going
and
to.
still until they actually get a left back, though. I think we
He
have
has to
to
be, yeah.
assume.
Yeah.
we have to
I think,
assume.
yeah.
it's some variant of. Not necessarily a 3 at the back, right?
Yeah.
But it's that system
Nicholson,
where like one of the
him.
fullbacks
Switches over to a 3-back.
One of the fullbacks acts as
the
kind
big
of a-
swinging back line.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Which
exactly.
again, it's something that I keep bringing up Arsenal, but I do take a lot into account because they never mentioned studying
Yep.
with Arsenal.
Yep.
They're having a great season. You think they don't want to implement some of those tactics, some of those the way they operate in short spaces, and I think Frazier going out there to England and talking to them and trying to learn what he's doing different it really changed a lot of things.
It's going to be interesting, and I do think there are one too many people up front. I think one it will be outbound. I don't know when, but I would expect it pretty quickly. But that is for
many
another
more
day.
signings
That
do
is,
you think?
I think there's still a
2.
keeper. I think there's a left back, and I think there's a camp invite to sort of shore up somewhere else along the defensive line. But that is for another day, guys. We have to wrap up. There's an Av show coming into studio here for tonight. Joseph, what do you have to plug? Where can they find you? What do you want to get off your chest here to promote yourself?
This year, you'll be able to find my work over at burgundywave.com. I will be doing Rapids 2, like sort of analysis on the first team players that play with Rapids 2. I'll also be doing sort of midweek posts about the first team where I sort of analyze like what happened in the game before and what to expect in the upcoming game. Still ironing out exactly how like all that's going to work. But point is, you'll be able to see me there along with my good friend Matt Pollard. Yeah, that's all I got. You can follow me on Twitter at JSPSAM.
Love it. Dwayne?
I'm going to plug all of you, and here's how. I think this is a time for us to allow ourselves to
Oh,
enjoy
God.
the Rapids. Like, take a break from being pissed off
You would make
about.
this
I'm going with
plug.
Captain Jack,
Jesus
man.
Christ.
Take a break from being pissed off about who's getting signed and what money is going where. Let's support the
That's
guys
what's
we
fun.
have. For some people, being miserable is fun. Not for me.
True.
And I know it's not fun for the players. I want you to set your schedules. March 4th, 7:30 p.m., first home game. Let's be there. Let's be loud. Let's get there.
Love it. All right, guys, make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Please and thank you. It's the biggest thing you can do for us. Subscribe to the DNVR YouTube channel. Get your Die Hard level membership at thednvr.com. Get your stuff from the locker. And more important than all of that, as we say at the end of every show, and it says on the scarf right there, up the pits.
It's